Modani lefanecha. For the last few mornings we've been together, my focus has been on the first word, thankful, and to find a way, even in the midst of the situation that we are in and the anxieties that arise, to gently blow that aside, to make room for gratitude to arise, and to think of those things that we can notice that generate gratitude for us. But what I would like to do this morning is actually focus on the last two words of this line of liturgy, Rabba emunatecha. And Rabba emunatecha, how great is your trust, is how it's translated here on this page. But emunah is trust, faith. It's also faith, trust, faith. And it's an interesting way to begin, because you would think that perhaps our expression initially would be giving thanks and expressing our faith in God. But that's not what this opening line of morning liturgy says. It is expressing God's faith and trust in us. And that's incredibly powerful. The original context is one in which if my soul has been restored to me, the fact that I woke up this morning and that I have the gift of this day means that I have been entrusted. I have been entrusted with this gift, that I am present and I am here and that I have something to offer. And it's incredibly empowering to think about the fact that that is there for us. Before we chant these last two words of this phrase, Rabba emunatecha, I want to share another way of thinking about what it means to have faith or trust, that is directly from the teachings of Rabbi Shefa Gold. She writes, "This practice came to me during a time of turmoil in the world." This is not one of her newer chants, but it is so incredibly relevant to this moment. "I was searching for a practice that might acknowledge my grief, yet keep me from despair. I needed a practice that would connect me to resources of strength and resilience as I walk through the shadows of fear, rage, devastation." The Book of Lamentations describes a time like this, which was after the destruction of the first temple. That's when the Book of Lamentations was written in response to that. And one particular phrase from that painful text found its way into the light of our morning liturgy. And it's the phrase at the end of this line, Rabba emunatecha. God's faithfulness comes to me as a glimpse of the widest, longest perspective. A glimpse of the widest, longest perspective. And in that glimpse, I am calmed. I relax my frantic grip. I stop trying to figure it out. I begin to trust the flow of inexorable change. This divine faith in me is what grows my own fragile faith. So I invite you to sit with some of those ideas, to feel that sense of faith in you that is coming from a source beyond you, to enliven, to energize, to lift you up, to give you strength to face each day as we chant these two words, Rabba emunatecha. Rabba emunatecha, 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 Emunatecha Rabba, Emunatecha Rabba, Emunatecha Rabba, Emunatecha Rabba, Emunatecha Rabba, Emunatecha Rabba, Emunatecha. Sit in the stillness, allow the energy of the vibrations to surround you, to pass through you. Feel yourself lifted and carried by that energy. As we continue to feel the gift of the breath flowing through us, this morning we'll have a slower chant for Eloheinu Shema that allows us just to really feel the experience of breath and the ability to carry ourselves through one breath and another. Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorahi 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 As we continue to just follow our breath, I place on the screen before you the four-lettered name of God that I introduced a few sessions ago, written vertically, showing us the outline of the human form. And as we continue this morning meditation on channeling that strength, that trust and faith that comes from that source of life and flows through us with each and every breath, we can actually visualize ourselves breathing in and breathing out that source of divine energy as we visualize the Yud, feeling that energy just above the crown of our head as we breathe in, sending that energy across our shoulders and down our arms, hey, as we breathe out. Straightening our spine, visualizing the Vav as we breathe in, and sending that energy across our hips and down our legs through the soles of our feet into the floor. Hey, as we breathe out. Yud. Hey. Vav. Hey. We continue to breathe in and out, visualizing these letters, sending that breath and that energy through our bodies, feeling that sense of connection to the source of divine flow. And just notice where you are in this moment. Feel yourself grounded in your seat. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who's hallowed us by your commandments and commanded us to occupy ourselves with words of Torah. So what I would like to do this morning is take a few moments to offer a teaching on this idea of trust. Trust, faith. Emunah is one of those words, but another that we find when we are in the teachings of Mussar, when we're talking about trust, is the Hebrew word Bitachon. And in the context of one of the more traditional sources of Mussar teaching, Rabbi Alan Marinis brings our attention to one of the central Mussar texts, the duties of the heart, written by Ibn Pakuda in the 11th century. And in talking about Bitachon, he is clearly addressing the stress that people were feeling in their lives. Because when he talks about this particular trait, he writes about it in the context of reducing anxieties in regard to worldly affairs. Reducing anxieties in regard to worldly affairs. A reminder that all this has been before and will come again, that we find ourselves living through times that challenge us, that cause suffering, and that even if we ourselves are not in the midst of the direct suffering of the worst of what is present, it still lifts and raises our anxieties. And he says, one who follows this approach offered by Ibn Pakuda achieves peace of mind from worldly anxieties, tranquility of the soul, undisturbed and untroubled by lack of bodily gratification, worries about money, intimidation by other people, illness, and many other common sources of stress. I wouldn't put it quite that strongly. I think we should be troubled by these things, and I think we are right to be troubled by those things. With all of these traits, it's always about a spectrum, and recognizing that if we find ourselves being driven on the end of the spectrum in which our anxieties and our fear is rising, such that it is immobilizing us, such as it is kind of flooding our emotional space, then turning to some of these traits and the practices that help to kind of strengthen them helps us to rebalance and come back to that place of equilibrium. And so this particular soul trait of bitachon, trust, a lot of the Mussar teachers talk about this being one of the hardest ones to deal with, and particularly because in their traditional writings, they were talking about trusting God. And so when we use that phrase, it can raise up all kinds of thoughts and feelings based on what we understand God to be and how we understand God to be present. The root of the word, the Hebrew letters bet, tet, chet, means to be at ease, to trust, to sort of have a sense of confidence. It's interesting, in modern Hebrew, you find the word bitachon used to mean security. So we have the Misrad HaBitachon is the defense ministry in Israel. And Bituach Lumi is the national insurance system. So these are structures that we create, human beings. It's not about inaction. It's not just about, I'm going to leave it all up to God. God's going to sort this out. That's not the kind of trust that we're talking about, and faith. When we talk about enacting bitachon, it's about having agency and doing the things that we can do, but in the context of knowing and recognizing that we're not fully in control. And that's been that which we've been grappling with this whole time, knowing that that's the case and finding a path that helps us move forward and feel not useless, not feeling like there's nothing I can do, but finding those things which we can do that do make a difference. And that can be a channel for our sense of security and our sense of faith during these times. Alan Marinis goes on to teach that one of the stories we find in the Torah that is a particular illustration of this kind of bitachon is the manna test. When we start wandering through the wilderness, not knowing where we're going or how long we will be wandering, we are fed by the delivery of manna that comes down each night. And we then are invited to go and collect that which we need to nourish and sustain us on our journey. What's interesting is that if you take more than you need, thinking, what if there isn't enough? The leftover that you don't consume then rots. It becomes useless. The nature of manna was that one should only take what one needs, and have faith that the supply will continue to come. And I just think that that's such an incredible teaching, because the Mussar teachers go on to say that why is this the test? First of all, we have to go and collect it, right? We don't just sit there doing nothing. We have to have agency. We have to pick ourselves up and go and collect what we need. But why is this food the test? Because it's symbolic of parnasa, of livelihood, providing for our own material well-being and that of our family has been a core source of anxiety throughout the ages. Will I have enough? Will we have enough? And there's a lot of anxiety around that right now. People are losing their jobs. What there's just been passed through Congress has been to try and quell some of that anxiety, right? To say to people, we will try and give you something to fill that hole so that you have enough. We're not going to take your home away from you at this time if you don't have enough for that mortgage payment. To try and calm the markets, right? The economic side of this, that there will be enough. A source of anxiety that we're all dealing with now is that there is not enough medical equipment, and trying to put systems in place. Governors and mayors are trying to do what they can to make sure there is enough, so that people can get the care that they need to increase the probability that they will be healed. And it's a terrible source of anxiety that we're hearing that there's not enough. And so trying to respond to that, these are core human behaviors. And so clearly there are things to be anxious about. It's very interesting. One of the things I picked up in reflecting on this teaching was that when we have an overly developed feeling of scarcity, that the human sort of reaction is often one which goes in the extreme in the other way: greed and hoarding. Does that sound familiar? Has anybody found toilet paper recently? Right? That is natural human behavior, but it comes out of this anxiety. Will I have enough? It's kind of interesting what it is that people have had particular anxiety about running out of, this versus that. I will tell you that the Passover shelves right now are full. You don't have to worry about those. So we're in this time, and it's very real. And so calling upon Bitachon is a way for us to not get caught up and be taken along by this sort of torrent that can lead us, over the waterfall and sort of crashing down below. That if we can notice this, and we can even perhaps laugh at it in moments, this is what Bitachon looks like: to trust that if I wait till next week, the shelves will be restocked. I might not be able to get everything on my list, but I'll be able to get enough, because the flow continues to come. It still is coming. That if I do my part to stay at home, to slow that peak, that perhaps all of us can make sure that there is enough, that the hospitals will have what they need, because they won't need to heal everybody all at once. That's what the whole flattening the curve is about. But it requires all of us to walk this walk and act with Bitachon. So I want to take us into one more meditation this morning. And this meditation is a mindfulness meditation on Bitachon offered by Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg. And it's actually drawing from a Buddhist meditation called metta meditation, which is a loving kindness meditation. But it really does work to what we need to tell ourselves as a mantra to carry with us during these times. So once again, I invite you to just close your eyes, make sure you're seated in a comfortable way, to feel your shoulders relax, feel your spine lifting you upwards, letting your hips be heavy and grounded in the seat, and your feet to be planted. Imagine that you are rooted and those roots are reaching down and out into a clear and fresh river, a deep source of endless water, a source that is ever present and ever giving. Just notice your breath. Bring your attention to the heart space as you breathe in and release the breath. And as you breathe from the heart, I invite you to say these words, these 3 phrases as a mantra. May I feel safe. May I feel content. May I feel at ease. May I feel safe. May I feel content. May I feel at ease. With each phrase, use a full cycle of breath. May I feel safe. May I feel content. May I feel at ease. And with each phrase, you're simply practicing offering this wish for this moment. Notice the bodily sensations as you say the phrases. Imagine your body filled with the qualities that you are putting into words. May I feel safe. May I feel content. May I feel at ease. And as you continue to say these phrases, you may wish to use them and send them out to others, thinking of someone who perhaps you know is not feeling so calm right now. And hold them in your heart as you say, may you feel safe. May you feel content. May you feel at ease. Send those words out to beloved friends. Send it out to those who are leading us. Send it out to the doctors in the hospitals. May I feel safe. May I feel content. May I feel at ease. You can continue to say those phrases and call upon them whenever you need them. As we come back together for these closing moments, we'll return to the chant with which we began. Rabba emunatecha. Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha, Rabba emunatecha.